I knew my wife was having an affair with the neighbor. Through the window, I saw the neighbor's luxury car lights flashing. I gritted my teeth. Its price was more than my entire annual salary, while I could barely cover next month's mortgage. Ever since we moved into that neighborhood, my wife and I fought every single day. We fought over cheap groceries and over the kids' tuition. Every argument felt like a ticking time bomb. She even compared me to the neighbor, lobbing insults and verbal attacks constantly. All I could do was stay up late at night on that outdated laptop, secretly figuring out how to turn every single dollar into life-saving money for the future. A few months later, she finally saw the money I had saved. Not just numbers on a statement, but real freedom, and she was stunned. In that moment, I realized something important. Moving from being poor to middle class isn't about luck, and it's not about overtime. It's about making every single dollar work for you. The harsh reality is that many perceptions of poverty are dangerous misconceptions. And these misconceptions are often most believed by those who work hard. They think poverty is just a math problem. Earn more money, work more overtime, maintain an optimistic attitude, and your bank account balance will eventually magically appear. But if that were true, millions would have escaped poverty long ago. The truth is far more complex than that. Poverty is not just about not having enough money. It silently drains your time, energy, health, and judgment. It even prevents you from making plans for 3 days from now. If you still think poverty is just about lacking money, then you have been fighting the wrong enemy. What is real poverty like? It's not the numbers in government reports. It's the morning before dawn when your alarm clock wakes you up, and being late for the bus could mean losing your job. It's standing exhausted in a dimly lit bus stop, calculating your expenses for the day with only 8% battery left. It's being afraid to see a doctor because the bills are too high. It's opening the refrigerator and deciding to eat less so your child eats more. There is another comforting but misguided idea. Many believe poverty is caused by laziness because it makes the world seem fair. Yes, sometimes choices affect income, but often poverty is simply bad luck or timing. Sometimes it stems from your birth zip code or the schools you attended, the chaos at home, or the neighborhoods you have to navigate. Or the lack of someone around you who can teach you the rules of survival, because they themselves have never managed to escape poverty. The damage of poverty is far more profound than people imagine. It not only empties your wallet but alters your relationship with money. Some grow up knowing nothing about money, experiencing only fear, anxiety, and lack. Others learn from a young age that wanting money is greed, that rich people are untrustworthy, and talking about money is embarrassing. And asking for help is a sign of failure. Gradually, shame follows, making it even harder to break the cycle. So the unopened envelope sits on the counter for 6 days. The banking app doesn't get checked because your stomach tightens before the screen loads. You tell yourself you'll handle it tomorrow, then tomorrow becomes next week. Late fees arrive, small problems become expensive problems, fear starts pretending to be protection. And this is the first brutal truth you have to accept if you want out. Your old financial instincts cannot be trusted just because they feel natural. What feels natural was shaped in an environment of scarcity. Avoidance feels safer than clarity. Short-term relief feels smarter than long-term planning. Silence feels less humiliating than asking questions. Here's the part almost nobody says out loud. A paycheck is not the same thing as power. Two people can work just as hard and clock the same hours, drag themselves home equally exhausted, and end up in completely different worlds financially. Why? Because the real divide isn't effort, it's ownership. And once you see it that way, a lot of fake status falls apart. The job title matters less than the reliability of the deposit. The appearance of success matters less than whether one broken appliance ruins you. The person being harvested is forced to spend today's wages correcting yesterday's instability. Not laziness, not lack of dreams, just constant extraction. Here's the blunt truth. If your money is still leaking out through emergencies, penalties, bad debt, and avoidable chaos, then making more won't save you. More income poured into a cracked system just disappears faster. So the first useful move is not inspirational, it's boring. Open your banking app, pull up the last 30 days, and circle every charge that came from disorder, not living. Late fee, overdraft, rush delivery because you forgot, interest charge, replacement for something you lost. Fast food bought because the fridge was empty and you came home exhausted. That list is your real enemy, not coffee, not subscriptions, but disorder. Once you can see those leaks in black and white, the game changes. Because now you're not fighting your entire life, you're just cutting one wire at a time. And this is where people usually want a grand master plan, a 5-year income map, a new identity, a passion pivot. No. If you're trying to get out of survival mode, you need one mechanical action that repeats whether you feel motivated or not. So set a fixed 20-minute block, same time every day, for skill building only. Not research about research, not daydreaming about what field feels meaningful. One cheap course, one tutorial, one practice drill, one page of notes, one mock task, every single day, that's it. 20 minutes, a timer on the table, phone in another room. If you miss a day, you do not restart on Monday. You sit down the next day and continue from the exact line where you stopped. That tiny ritual matters because poverty trains you to live reactively. This is the first act of controlled, directed value building. Look, the target here is not glamorous. The target is marketable. You are not shopping for a personality. You are shopping for a skill that somebody already pays for. Sales, IT support, welding, coding, plumbing, carpentry, digital marketing. Something practical, something with demand, something you can materially improve at inside 6 to 12 months. Without burying yourself under a mountain of debt. The reason this matters is simple. The middle class is not built on ambition alone. It is built on being expensive to replace. The moment your time becomes more useful in the market, your paycheck stops being a ceiling and starts becoming a lever. That's why this daily block has to feel almost insultingly small. If it's too big, life will knock it over. If it's small enough, you can protect it. Then, while that skill compounds quietly, build your floor, not the dream house, just the floor. Automate one transfer on payday into a separate savings account, even if the amount feels almost embarrassing. The number matters less than the rhythm. This is how you stop every emergency from becoming a financial crime scene. A real safety net is not a vague intention to be better with money, it's cash sitting somewhere boring, health coverage in place, your skills staying current, and your name carrying enough trust. That if one job disappears, another door can open. That's how you lower the odds of falling back down. Not with confidence, but with buffers, and notice what this does psychologically. Before, every bill felt personal, like life was punishing you. Now the picture is completely different. You know what leaves your account, you know what hour belongs to your future, you know where the next layer of protection is coming from. That clarity is not exciting, but it is powerful, because once your bucket stops leaking, once your skill value rises, and once a small reserve starts to exist, you finally stop negotiating only with tomorrow. You get to think a few months ahead, then a year. Then bigger decisions become possible. So don't ask yourself tonight, how do I completely transform my life? Ask the smaller, more dangerous question. What exact 20-minute block, at what exact time starts tomorrow? Drop that time in the comments if you're serious. Look, the promise here is smaller than people want, and that's exactly why it matters. I'm not promising you a mansion or a supercar, or some cartoon version of making it. I'm promising something far more powerful. The day your phone buzzes with a bill and your chest does not tighten. The day a tire blows or a prescription changes, the hours at work get cut for a week, and your whole life does not immediately start sliding backward. That is the real milestone, not luxury, stability with options. Because once you've built both pieces we talked about, the buffer that catches you and the system that pushes you forward, the game changes in a very practical way. You stop living like every month is an ambush. Rent gets paid, the lights stay on, groceries go in the cart without you silently doing mental math aisle by aisle. You can open your banking app once, not 3 times. You can book the doctor's appointment instead of hoping the problem disappears. You can sleep without replaying due dates in your head at 2 a.m. That's not glamorous, okay, but it is a massive upgrade in quality of life. And for millions, it's the first real taste of breathing room they've ever had. And here's the blunt truth, middle class is not a trophy. It's a functioning operating system, a modest home you can actually afford. Retirement accounts that exist before you feel ready. A diversified long-term portfolio that grows quietly while you live your life. A credit score that opens doors instead of charging you extra for being poor. Enough savings to absorb random chaos without turning it into a catastrophe. You are not rich at that point, but you are no longer trapped in permanent reaction mode. You can finally think beyond Friday. You can make a decision based on what helps you in 3 years. Not just what stops the bleeding by tonight. That's the only honest compounding promise worth making. If you protect the floor and keep feeding the long game, your life gets less fragile year by year. Not perfect, not immune to setbacks, just harder to knock over, and that matters more than internet fantasies ever will. Because the first win is not becoming untouchable, the first win is becoming recoverable. So if you've been waiting for some dramatic final secret, this is it. Build a life that can survive bad luck. Then build a life that can benefit from time. That's how people actually move from poverty into a respectable, durable middle-class life. And if you're serious, tell me this in the comments. What is the first sign for you that your life is finally working? Is it 1 month of expenses saved, no credit card panic, a paid-off debt, a stable rent payment, a doctor visit without fear? I want the real answer, not the flashy one.